After John's family passed away, it came to light that his father owed a lot of money to people around town. So at 15, John had to leave school to move back to the family farm and get to work. Now, when he got back there, he was pissed. He's like back at square one, when he was finally like doing something for himself at school. So he's just stewing in the hate, He's like, fuck that, I don't want to be at this farm, like fuck this place. Plus again, like things are just changing all around him in America. There's a ton of immigration happening. Tons of people were coming in from Europe. John had hired immigrants to help him with the farm, but apparently they didn't seem to get along. Different farming techniques, I guess. But John believed that the immigrants who had just come to America had it way easier than his family did, You've heard people like this before, and he started to resent them for that. Well, John needed some friends, a sense of community, some like-minded people like himself. So he finds a group of people who called themselves the American Party and asks to join. Now, the American Party, they also were known as the Know Nothing Party, was a pretty controversial group. They were pro-slavery. They opposed immigration, especially by Irish Catholics and other groups perceived as a threat to American Protestant values and jobs. And John just loved this. He was like, I love this. This is exactly what I love. Now, this group, they were called the Know Nothings because if anyone asked what was happening behind closed doors during those controversial meetings, members were told to say, quote, I know nothing. It's kind of like Fight Club, I don't know. But John was enjoying these meetings and being a part of the group, But while he was spending more time there, the Booth family farm was slowly falling apart. So word gets back to John's older brother, Edwin. Now, at this point, Edwin is like on the stage being famous. So Edwin gets word that things at the farm are not going so well. So he decides to come back home and help out. Edwin took after his father was doing some acting out west. When he came back to the farm, he realized it was in bad shape and something drastic needed to be done if they wanted to save it. So Edwin made the decision to rent out the family farm and hopefully make some money off of it. And that's all fine and dandy, but at this point, John was like, well, what am I gonna do? Well, Edwin had an idea. Edwin told his brother, hey, I always remember that you were great at public speaking. So he tells John the best way to make some money quick would be for him to move to a big city and get into acting. Do it. Just do it. So at 19, John moves to Philadelphia, where he finds a job pretty quickly. John gets hired to perform a major Shakespeare play. I know, talk about life doing a 180. He went from the farm to the stage real quick. I mean, this was exciting to him. He's like, I'm gonna be a famous actor, a name to be remembered. It was everything he wanted. This was his moment. So he does this, practicing great. He's gonna be an actor. Well, on opening night, he walked out on stage and I guess he just went completely blank. Crickets. He forgot his lines. It didn't take long for the people in the audience to start heckling and hissing at him. At this time, hissing people on stage was like the most insulting way to heckle an actor. So being hissed at was just like the ultimate burn, okay? You didn't want to be hissed at. Well, this was just fuel to the fire, really, for him, John. Because after this embarrassment, he made it his mission to make sure he never embarrassed himself or the Booth family name again. So he kept at it. He could have gave up, but he kept at it. And eventually, audiences and critics came around. People started describing John as magnetic and passionate. Critics called him, quote, the handsomest man in America. Yeah, nothing about his acting skills. He was just handsome, I guess. Just making everyone forget about that bad opening night he had, really. So John's doing well, and he keeps auditioning for a ton of new roles. And then finally, he lands a role in a play with his brother, Edwin. Two great actors and brothers on the same stage. I mean, people wanted to see this. Get me tickets now. And the play turned out to be a smash hit. Their joint appearance did so well that John T. Ford, the theater's manager, recruited John to work with him at another theater in Richmond, Virginia. Now, when he got there, John landed the lead role in a play called Our American Cousin. And yeah, I guess he killed it. John's career really took off after this. He couldn't walk on the street without getting mobbed by adoring fans. It was clear at this time that he was no longer living in the shadows of his dad or his brother, and he finally earned the Booth family name. But instead of partying with fangirls, because there was lots, and living the lavish life of a celebrity, he spent most of his time sitting at home alone and just stewing about politics. Now, if he did leave the house, it was only to go to those political meetings. John was extremely disturbed by the anti-slavery talk that was happening in town. He used to think the whole free the slaves movement was just a phase, but now it seemed like it was picking up steam. It was pissing him off. And it was all thanks to a rising political star named Abraham Lincoln. So we're in the mid-1800s, and even though John is at the height of his career, he can't enjoy it because he feels like the America he knows is falling apart. In society at this time, there was a very clear divide between people who wanted to end slavery and people who wanted to keep it going. And at the heart of that debate was a man named Abraham Lincoln. Now, Lincoln, if you don't know, was a politician who came from very humble beginnings. He was born into poverty in a log cabin in Kentucky, but he rose to power as a respected lawyer and politician. He gained a lot of attention during his Senate race in 1858, where he made a point to take a stand against slavery. Now, this was very controversial at the time because the economy depended on free labor, aka slavery, just to function. Most of society was extremely racist and did not view enslaved people as human beings. So they were like, what is this guy talking about? But Lincoln was popular because he made it clear to the people that his core values were integrity and honesty, and the public really respected him for it. And most importantly, the American people, they liked him and they trusted him. In 1860, Abraham Lincoln won the presidency. Now, John, he's like, oh, fuck. He doesn't like this guy. He doesn't like him. He doesn't like his beliefs. He doesn't like where this is leading. He's just getting worked up. John believed that Lincoln's victory meant one thing: war. And it would only be a matter of time before the American government declared war against the South. And to be honest, John wasn't crazy to have this thought, because at the time it was essentially the North versus the South. And the North had a huge population of people who believed in ending slavery. But at the same time, people in the South wanted to keep slavery, and they also wanted to form their own country and government away from everyone else. So there was quite a bit of tension between the two, okay? Even John got in on this, saying, quote, "If I could, I would kill every damn abolitionist in the North. Then there would be no war." Okay, John, okay. John's on the edge of his seat, moments away from a mental breakdown, just waiting for a war to begin. And then on April 12th, 1861, John felt he was proven right. The Civil War officially begins. And hey, look, real talk, John actually has an opportunity to put his money where his mouth is and go fight in the war. It's like, hey, John, go. Now's your time. But he refuses. Some historians believe that John had a fear of blood, which kept him from fighting. But there's no way for sure. Others say his mom didn't want him to go. We don't really know, though, the reason. Instead of fighting in the war, John continued performing on stages across America. While John was acting in a play called The Marble Heart, President Abe Lincoln actually came and watched John's performance. The character John played had sympathy for enslaved people, and it was a very moving piece to Lincoln. So much so that he wanted to actually meet John and shake his hand. But John was disgusted. This was not flattering to him. He refused to meet President Lincoln. John's like, hello, that was called acting. Yeah, all right, I don't really feel like that. John even went on to say that he would rather have an applause from a black man than Lincoln. So, I don't even know what to follow that with. Okay. As time went on, it didn't matter how successful John's career was. He was depressed. The Civil War was raging, killing tens of thousands of people every single day, and things started looking worse and worse for the South. So just like his father, John began drinking heavily to cope with his feelings. And eventually, he was so jaded by everything happening in the world, he decided to just retire from acting. It just wasn't doing it for him anymore. Unfortunately, this meant John had a little too much time on his hands. Yeah, so he spent most of his free time staying up on politics and plotting. Because you know why? He decided he was finally going to do something that would get everyone's attention. John decided in order to save America, he must kidnap President Abraham Lincoln.